Hi, my name is Annu Syren. I'm a sound designer here at Colossal Order, and today we talk about sound and music. I have a teacher who always says it's pointless to talk about sound because sound is something you can only experience. I see sound as a very different kind of experience than seeing things. In City Skylines 2, we have expanded many of the audio options to give the players more control over what kind of sounds they want to hear and at which volume level. And we have also tried to expand what exactly is heard in your city. The city ambience consists of 3 layers depending on your camera height. Then on top of that, we have built different kind of ambient sounds based on your camera locations, such as if you're above a forest or a busy highway, or if you are having rain and how intense that rain is. On top of that, many building sounds react to simulation conditions such as weather. So cold weather outside the parks might sound different, or will sound different, I guess. Not might. I should know. I made it. I've lived, I don't actually live in Tampere, but really close by, but my heart belongs to Tampere always. But I've lived here since I was 16 years old, and I did a 1-year stint in Helsinki, and then I came quickly back. I just love this city. I love the red brick feeling and the old factories. We're now here in literally middle of Tampere with the trams in the background. And it was actually very nice to be able to enjoy them in the city. They are fairly new. When you had to design things you don't have access in real life, it always gets a bit more complicated. So it was nice to be able to see and hear the trams in real life here. And I think they're also pretty fun. I love the little bell. Like buses don't have that. I take inspiration everywhere around me, and especially since we are dealing with a city builder, so I pay a lot of attention to distant sounds. I find it easier to replicate sounds that you hear really close, but it gets a bit more difficult when you're hearing things that are really far away, but you still hear them, like traffic, because you have an individual car, but when you are standing on a field and look at a highway from a distance, it sounds very different. So that's something I was really inspired by. So I actually took a lot of walks near roads and just listened to how the cars sounded from a distance rather than from really close by. And it's very interesting because you need to be able to recognize them as the same source, but it sounds different. So for example, if you hover over a residential area, it sounds a bit different close by than when you take the bird's eye view and it's mixed with wind and sounds like that. Making audio for City Skylines 2 gave me 2 big challenges: the number of audio sources and the transition between near and far sounds. The game recognizes the distance and number of audio sources. When a certain threshold is met, the simulation groups all the individual audio sources together and creates a group audio, which is then played instead of the individual audio sources. And this is to prevent the audio from becoming too cluttered, so you can actually still hear all the relevant and interesting things. that's something that has always interested me in game sounds, is the transition between two locations. So if you are going from indoors to outdoors, how does it sound? How does it make you feel? Like you immediately get a different emotion when you switch locations. So I just had to do that, but in a much, much larger scale. That was one thing that really I wanted to highlight in City Skylines 2, because when you move from like a busy city center and you pan your camera out over the water or into like a serene forest, how does the soundscape actually like change? Those have always been the things that interest me the most. The fact that the camera can move fast. Player can move the camera from one position from like a busy city center into like a quiet forest in a really short time. So how do you make it like so that the sound keeps up and sounds correct? That's something I also had to, with the help of programmers, of course, figure out. There are so many variables and moving parts, so I really had to pay attention that whatever player is focusing to listen on is always like elevated and clear. Personally, for me, the biggest like, oh wow moment was when we implemented the thunder, like the lightning strike sounds. And they actually have a small delay, so when you see a lightning strike in the distance, the sound actually has to travel for a while before you can hear it. Even though I've like done sound things and implemented sounds before, I don't know why, but it just felt like, wow, that is so cool. I'm a problem solver. I like difficult things. I like my games difficult. So I definitely enjoy the challenge, even though it can feel a bit frustrating and headache-inducing. Like I mentioned earlier, I just love the feeling when it sounds just right. It's not something I can like pick apart what makes it right. And I firmly believe that sounds are a big part of like emotions, and that's why it's important for me to feel things when I design sounds. Of course, they are there to portray information, but they are also like carriers of emotions. And I hope that players can feel what I felt when I heard the sounds. I really hope that I have managed to uphold the good standards that gamers are keeping everywhere, because I have tremendous respect for players in general.
I just don't understand how you do it.
Me neither at times. Thank you so much for watching. Next week we are talking about photo mode and cinematic camera. Bye!